Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me, Dr. Keith McNally. This is my vlog, A Veteran Story. I'm here with Noemi, and we're going to give Noemi a chance to introduce herself and why she's part of this conversation. But for those who are watching and listening, remember this is all about veterans, especially me, who are faced challenges or facing challenges with mental illness, and for me specifically, PTSD, depression, and so forth. And so, Noemi, before we get deep into this conversation, I welcome you and please tell us all about who you are and what you're doing here, please.
Thank you for inviting me today, Keith. It's an absolute honor. And I'm Noemi Beres, and I live in Cyprus in Europe. And yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I do a lot of things. I'm an artist, but I came up with a new idea and I became basically a silent thinking session space holder. So I'm organizing silent thinking sessions. And yeah, it may sound a little bit strange, I know, for most of the people, because yes, we all think, but we usually don't have time to think. And I can share a little bit about myself and about my story. I went through a lot in the past 5 years. Since 2019, I lost my dad to cancer. I lost my grandma to an accident. I lost my best friend to a cancer. And that's all happened between 2019 and 2020. And also lost my business, had to start my business from scratch. So it was a lot going on in my life, a lot of grief, a lot of trauma, anxiety. And I never really had the time to think because
Mm.
I was always occupied with everything that's going on in my life, looking after my mother. I'm an only child and I'm living like thousands of kilometers from my mom. And also, it was hard to, start a new business in the midst of the pandemic. So it was a lot going on for many, many years. And as we, like so many people, can relate to this, like we all have our lives and we have families and back-to-back calls on Zoom and trying to make a living. So it was a lot going on in my life. And I figured out that I don't really have time to think. And and I
Well, let's
talked to
put
other
this in,
people.
well, let's put this into perspective here. So you're telling me from at least 2019 and all the way through the pandemic, a lot of things have impacted your life, a lot of negative things,
Yeah.
death, loss of a business, and probably some other personal issues. And you did what everybody else was trying to do, and that was just survive,
Yeah.
survive through that
Basically.
time. And
Yeah.
so from that time until now, I know you've gone through a lot of personal growth, personal changes. You've been on several of my other podcasts, but this one is specifically around helping people understand how to navigate traumatic situations,
Yeah.
such as what I have. I have PTSD due to my military experience. So, can we just for a little bit, not without getting into any specific details, kind of talk about that trauma and why handling it in a certain way is really beneficial?
It's like when you have PTSD, when you have traumatic experience, and usually when you go to a therapist or you go to a coach, you always have to talk about your trauma. And you always have to just repeat that to every single person that you start a conversation with. And that can be really overwhelming, just repeating that story over and over again. And I'm not saying this is not good for you. Obviously, there's a space and time for that to do that. But for many people, to relive that traumatic experience can be very, overwhelming. They stress out again. So what they can do, and it's actually like it's a proven, it's a proven by studies that when you just stay in silent and when you just think about things, like think through your life and all those traumatic experiences can help you to cope with it. But most of the time, it's not the best thing to do it alone. So you always need kind of a partner in that, like a space holder who are with you, who listens, who is there, but without any judgment, without any fear, just a calm, positive presence of another trusted person who is with you and hold the space for you.
I like that. And so, just as a disclaimer, real quick, you are not a medical professional and you're not a psychiatrist, doctor, or a
No.
clinician in any way. Um, and so, just to kind of give our watching and listening audience an idea, um, how did you come up with the idea of just holding space for somebody to keep them calm and to help them think?
Fast forward from that goes back to my story. So fast forward from 2020, when I rebuilt my life, kind of rebuilt my business in the past 5 years. Then I went on a trip to the US, and it was a hiking trip. And that somehow opened my eyes because, first of all, I'd never been to the US. That was the first time. So it was a great experience. And getting out of your comfort zone and doing things that you didn't really necessarily do before. And I'm a walker, like, you probably know that. And we had talked about it a lot, but I wasn't into really hiking before. I did some hiking, but I had like a week of hiking, and that somehow opened my eyes because when you hike, you don't really have time to talk. So kind of helps you to think
Hmm.
more than you usually do. And because you don't have any other distractions, you don't have your family there, you don't have your work there, no Zoom calls, no notifications on your mobile because there's no reception maybe. So it's a good space to just start to think. And when I got back to Europe and I was like thinking hard again, it's like I knew that I have a kind of purpose or focus on like what I want to do in my life, but there was like a bigger idea that how I want to help people. And I could never put my finger on it what it was. And I was doing other stuff too, like art therapy. And I like that too, but it wasn't, I just didn't feel it. And just one day I was sitting and thinking, and again, like in a space and time for you to think calmly. And the idea hit me. It's like if I have if I have this problem, other people struggle with it too, because there's so much noise, so much distraction nowadays that we just don't have time to just sit down and think. And that's the biggest difference between meditation and the thinking sessions, that you don't have to clear your mind. Quite the opposite. You have to be present with your thoughts and let them come to the surface and feel them. That's the biggest difference between, because when we meditate, our monkey brain can can get there, and we think about a lot of things. But here it's just so much easier than to meditate takes ages, years to practice and to do it properly, but everybody can think.
Well, you brought up two really key points that I want to talk about. First, hiking, because that's a big part of my life and I do it almost daily. As a matter of fact, as the time of this recording, it's a Monday. I went out to First Landing State Park here in Virginia, and almost did my 20. It got a bit too warm to kind of push it to 20, so I did 19. But hiking has become a big part of how I've healed, or don't want to put a past tense to it, how I continue to go through the process of healing, and be able to better manage, all of my PTSD symptomology. The other part of that I want to talk about is meditation, but let's go back to the hiking part because this is exciting for me. What
Yeah.
was your experience in hiking? So let's talk about that. So how did that kind of, you know, create this space, since that's what we're talking about, for you to kind of narrow down and say, ooh, this is really cool.
Yeah, for me, it's just the quiet of the forest. And when you just walk through there, it's amazing how calming can be, that just being in nature and just, enjoy the fresh air and just walking. And basically like steps up your step, just like taking those small steps and getting those, miles and distances done. And just amazing that how calms your body down. Yeah, and you have the physical challenges and everything, but that helps. That helps you to think and helps you to have those thoughts that you never had before, and just amazing. And I can just recommend it to anyone. And you don't have to hike like obviously 19 miles or 20 every day to do that, but if you just walk around in your neighborhood for 10-15 minutes without music, which I always do, and I'm like, yeah, I should stop that sometime just to let my thoughts run free. But without music, without any distraction, just walking, just getting out there and just let those thoughts come to you and just be with your thoughts. And I think that's the key when we do that.
And I agree. So that's kind of part of the healing process is to be present in the moment. There are so many things that we could talk about just on hiking alone and how that kind of really help you create this space for yourself to be present, to meditate, to be in nature, and all of the things that are associated with that experience. But I want to go deeper into this because you brought up meditation. And for some people, as you said, it may take months, years, a lifetime to master. But I think there's this dichotomy in understanding of what meditation is. Eastern versus Western types of meditation. Because here in America, we do allow for you to think. It's not necessarily shutting your thoughts down, but being able to manage your thoughts is really important. So, can you clarify the space that you're holding for people and how that's different from traditional meditation?
Yeah, I mean, I meditate every day and I love doing that. Or I'm trying my best to have, clear my mind, but it's so hard. And I found it so hard to clear my mind. I even had chat with, Reiki practitioners and to yoga teachers and everything. And they even had struggled with that. So it's not that easy to learn that. And I know, especially when like you struggle with PTSD, you struggle with depression or any kind of, problem, that it's not that easy to do that because all those thoughts can come back to you and kind of you just push them away. But this is quite the opposite. You let them free. And I had session with a few friends, and we did these silent thinking sessions. And one of the participants told me that what was great about it, that it was like floating in the ocean, and it was supported, it was calm, and it was like an amazing space just to let basically just download all your thoughts without any filter at all. And that was the biggest part of it. So that's like they can come to you. You don't have to push them away. Why learning to push those thoughts away and to learn to meditate, it's hard. It's not an easy process to do. And then I I heard it from so many people that they get just tired of it and they just give up on meditation because I can't live with this. Like all the thoughts are coming to me. So this is a space where you can have your thoughts. And what we did during our session is you can actually journal. Like I myself, I'm with them. I'm the space holder, and I also journal. Like why we are together. And you can take, calming breath and everything. We're together, and the energy shifted instantly when we started to do this session. And you can journal, you can doodle, you can do anything basically, which helps you to think. So yeah,
So, wait. What I'm understanding is you've had a group of people,
yeah.
like, share this space. So this was the first time you like this was a trial?
Yeah, it was a trial. Yeah. And I asked a couple of friends. We are in the same, mastermind group, like let's try this. And they were so, happy to participate. And it was amazing. The energy instantly like shifted when we started to have that session. And obviously I plan to do one-on-one sessions and like very small group sessions too. I would prefer the one-on-one because I think it's more intimate, it's more private when we do that together. But small group sessions work too because the group energy is very interesting too. The way people start to have like amazing ideas or they come up with things that they never thought will come up because they have a scheduled space and time to think. Because when you are at home, you never schedule time to think things through. Like maybe you think about like I just read a study recently that we have like 6,000 unique thoughts every day. And that's a lot. I mean, our brain is just going all over the place. But then when we have like a silent thinking session and intentionally we have a couple of prompts, what are we going to think through? You can journal about this. You can think through these things because those are important to us, not just random thoughts that like, oh, I have to walk the dog, I have to do the washing or the laundry or whatever. So these are like very like dedicated, focused thoughts that you can do, like thinking you can do in 30 minutes.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that was my next question really was to kind of really understand the model here. And so it's literally just jumping on a Zoom call, I'm assuming, or just, a virtual call
Yeah.
with you. And so is there like an official, start, stop, and what's the middle? And you just mentioned specific questions to kind of hone or focus somebody's thinking. Can you add more detail to this?
Absolutely. And yeah, so we start like I welcome everyone. Like we set the intention for the call and for the thinking session, and I invite them to join me. And if they want, they can close their eyes, they can leave it open, they can journal, they can doodle, they can basically do whatever they want during, even if they really want to, they can turn off their camera during that session. And by the end, I'm going to tell them again, welcome them, and tell them to can get back to me if they want to talk about or say a few things about what was going on. They can do that, but because there's no pressure on them to tell me anything, because they were just I'm the space holder, the silent thinking session space holder. So we just, close the session and we can do another one. And because it's scheduled, you will stick to it. Unless when you're at home, you won't do that. So that's why you need a space for that.
So out of curiosity, you mentioned earlier you live in Europe, and so at the very least, I'm here in Eastern Virginia. I think we're 6, 7 hours, literally in the space of
Yeah,
a day,
seven, yes.
7 hours. How does that? So who are you trying to? Who's your clientele is really my question. Like, is it people specific to Europe, or is it global? Or is it just here in America? Because that's a big time difference. And I was wondering how will that negatively impact what you're trying to do?
I'm a global citizen, like as always, but so like my clients are international, so they can either come from Europe, but I would say most of my social network and the people I friend, they are mostly in the US, but obviously I work late hours, so I work until like 8 max my PM, my latest time, so I can do that with people during those times. And even I can do in-person meetings if it's required traveling. I'm okay with that. I love traveling. Obviously not every week, but like there's a certain time that I can totally do that.
So if somebody were to say, "Hey, Noemi, can you sit with me in my kitchen for 30 minutes?" You'd fly out to somewhere. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe not in the kitchen, but like, let's find a space we can do that. But yeah, absolutely, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
So you're talking about one-on-one sessions, and so are you already scheduling those out? Are people connecting with you? How is that? How's the, because this is new for you, you just
Yeah.
said you started with a group of people who you trust and they trust you. What's kind of the next step forward?
I have a wait list and people can join. And the next step will be that whoever joins the wait list, I will send them a quiz about basically about their thinking patterns, or how do they think, when do they have time for that. So just, different like great questions about like how do you usually do that at home or when you don't have time to do that. And once I have the results of the quiz, we can talk about it, how we can accommodate these silent thinking sessions into their lives, and how often should we meet, and so on. So first is a wait list, and then the quiz, and then we can see if we are the right fit to each other and to work together. Because I think it's all about energy. If we fit, like, if our energy fits together, I think it's really important. And so we can work together.
So I guess really how do we contact you? Like where are you, do you have a website or is it email or is it simply through your LinkedIn connections?
No, I have a website and it's my name. It's noemiberes.com. It's very easy, like not so easy because of my name, but and yes, of course, anyone can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there, or on Instagram, because that's a space also that people come to me and I connect with them. So you can DM me on Instagram. It's again my name. So it's not complicated, just Noemi Beres, and you can find me anywhere.
And I will definitely put that in the description show notes to this video. So from your website, they can access that questionnaire, yeah? Is that how that works?
No, first they join my waitlist, and then I will send them the questionnaire will goes out to them.
So
Will go out to them.
it's really important for them to contact you in some way.
Yeah, they will just join. They will just leave their name and email address basically, and that's the way they join my waitlist.
Excellent. Well, Noemi, I do appreciate, and I want to thank you for, creating this space, especially as you mentioned earlier, people who are faced with challenges due to trauma, do find thinking challenging. I'll use it, I was going to say problematic, but challenging is a good word too. So for you to kind of share your space, your energy, to just kind of put people at ease for one, and two, to give them a space to kind of breathe, focus, and maybe just tackle one or two things in, I guess, a 30-minute session,
Yeah.
is really therapeutic. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for the conversation.
So for those of you who've been watching and listening, this is a veteran story. This is my vlog, and I'll see you next time. Take care.